I am so glad to be with you all. Thank you for being a part of our annual Children's Sabbath worship celebration. A few confessions about this sermon. I wrote it in two distinct locations that I want to confess. The first was I was the lucky contestant who won jury duty this week. I wore my clerical collar and was never selected. But if you hear any echoes of justice in this sermon, they are likely reverberating from the halls of justice where I wrote parts of it. The other place I wrote the sermon, I was traveling at the beginning of the week out west to visit family, and so I wrote part of the sermon while flying across the country and simultaneously watching live tweets from the debate. And when I wasn't doing that, my favorite way to travel is with my earbuds in, listening to podcasts and TED Talks. So you're going to hear some stories that I'm borrowing from my favorite podcasts and TED Talks, particularly the most popular TED Talk in the world, which was given by Sir Ken Robinson. There's a couple stories that I'm going to borrow from him. The first one is this. Ken Robinson tells a story of a teacher who is teaching an art class. And this teacher noticed a young girl in the back of the class with a blank piece of paper. And the teacher goes up and says, what are you drawing a picture of? And the little girl says, well, I'm going to draw a picture of God. And the teacher goes, oh, honey, no one knows what God looks like. And the little girl goes, well, they will in a minute. Because there's something about the way young people see things that the rest of us can learn from, which is why today we are filling our sanctuary with the voices and the words and the images of young people. They can show us something about God and about what it means to be human. Now, this sermon will also only be possible with the help of the one and only Malika. Give her a hand. Have a seat. Malika, it was the voice you heard in the morning prayer. She was offering the narrative structure for that prayer. So thank you again, Malika.
You're welcome.
Yes. Now, Malika, I need you to put these on. Okay, you got it? All right, just. Okay, got it? Okay, we'll come back to you in a minute. The book of Habakkuk. Let me hear you say Habakkuk. It sounds like a Pokemon or something. Habakkuk. It's a minor prophet. Now, it's only called a minor prophet because it's short. Like Isaiah, Jeremiah, they're really long and wordy. The minor prophets, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, they're the short ones. The minor prophets have a major vision. And it is with this prophet Habakkuk we hear him offering some words for us today. Hear my cry. How long, O Lord? Cast a vision. Make it plain. These are words that were written thousands and thousands of years ago. Now, a prophet, you're already thinking, where's the crystal ball? A prophet doesn't tell the future. A prophet tells the truth. A prophet doesn't tell you what's going to happen. A prophet tells you what's happening right now. And that's what Habakkuk is doing in the text we read. Now, I think some very unique things happen when you invite three fantastic young people to read those prophetic words, and you hear the voice of a child say, how long, O Lord? Hear my cry. You hear young people saying to all of us in this room, write a vision and make it plain. Because these prophetic words that we read in the book of Habakkuk, yes, they are words that were written long, long ago. They're words that happened. But the unique thing about the prophetic words is they keep on happening. What do we notice when we listen to these words? How long, O Lord? Hear my cry. Write a vision. When we hear them in the world today, when we hear them perhaps, as was read earlier in the Message for All Ages, with the echo of gunfire surrounding us in our world. How long, O Lord? Hear my cry. Write a vision. Make it plain. Okay, now back to Malika. You doing okay? Okay. Okay, let's put this on you. Okay. And I have some pancake batter that I want you to hold. So I need an arm. Now, this pancake batter, it's vegan. There are no eggs or dairy products. It's from our junior high and high school small group we have every Sunday morning called The Breakfast Club, where we talk about the Bible and faith and doubt and God and spirituality, and we make pancakes. So, Malika, can you hold the pancake batter? Okay, and we'll get back to all this in a minute. The world we live in at times is the greatest thing ever. I mean, come on, Twitter exists. But sometimes it's just heartbreaking, like utterly heartbreaking. Like there are the things in our personal lives that we carry, and I've talked with many of you, and those things are heartbreaking for all of us, but we can carry each other and maybe keep going one more day. One day, one day. But there are things in our world that we just hear echoing, and it just makes me go, why? How long? The fact that an American is shot every week by a toddler. An American is shot every week by a toddler. What does that say about guns and gun control in our country? Or in 2015, this year alone, there have been over 40,000 incidents of gun violence. 2,500 of them involve people 18 years and younger. That means 10 young people a day are victims to gun violence. When I look at the world, at times it feels like there's a vision and it's distorted. There are things happening to us that we don't always have control over that just stops the way we see the world. Now, this is true in gun violence, but it's also true just in some of the things that young people experience, like their pastor putting pancake batter on their face. We live in a world where young people face what is often called by sociologists as systemic abandonment. We live in a world where gun violence is a physical problem that surrounds us, but even beyond that, there is a systemic abandonment in our society that adolescents face all around them. And by that I mean this. Think back to Leave It to Beaver as perhaps a model of a time frame. Leave It to Beaver, kids, this is, like eons ago for you. Leave It to Beaver was a time when we can look at our culture and say that young people had certain expectations and there was an adequate support system in place. But since that time has passed, we live in a world now where the expectations for young people keep on rising and the support continues to diminish. Could it be that as older people, as adults and grown-ups, that the pace at which we live our lives, the capacity at which we fill it and maybe overschedule it, are we already passing that on to the next generation before they've even had a chance to grow up? Systemic abandonment. Not even seeing the child for who they are, but simply for the schedule we impose on them. Or let me tell you the story of Gillian Lynn. This is a story, once again, I'm borrowing from Sir Ken Robinson in his podcast. How you doing, Malika? Okay. Gillian Lynn, when she was in school as a young person, this would have been before there was even the letters ADHD to be used in diagnosis. And so her teachers saw this young girl who just fidgeted and wouldn't stop moving, and her constant movements became distractions to others, and this impeded her own learning and the learnings of people around her. So the teacher said to Gillian's mother, I think your daughter needs to go see an expert. We need to figure this out. So they take her to an expert. Gillian Lynn and her mother go to the office of an expert. They're sitting there in his office. Gillian is sitting on her hands, not moving. The doctor is talking to her mother. And after a while, the doctor says, Gillian, I need to talk to your mother in private. We'll be right outside. And as he leaves, he turns on the radio. He walks outside and says to Gillian's mother, just watch. The minute they leave the room, Jillian is on her feet, moving and dancing. She will not sit still. Jillian's mother goes, "Doctor, is my daughter slow?" The doctor says, "No, your daughter's a dancer." And so Jillian Lynn was enrolled in a dance class where she says, "I found other people who needed to move just like me." And Jillian Lynn later met Andrew Lloyd Webber and choreographed Cats and many other productions that many of you have seen and maybe even been in. All because someone saw this child for who she was, not for some agenda that they wanted to place on her. We place a lot of things on young people in our world that stops them from seeing who they are truly meant to be. A few years ago, I was taking a middle schooler named Taylor home. He had an older brother named Connor, and Taylor and I were in the car. This is in Michigan where people drove their own cars everywhere. And we're driving home, and we're talking, and we're chatting, and Taylor's telling me about school and his older brother. And I hear him saying a few things, and I pause for a moment, and I say, "Taylor, it sounds like you're trying really hard to be your older brother Connor. What would it be like if you were just Taylor?" And he goes, "Just Taylor? I never thought about that before." We need adults, grown-ups of all ages, to be standing alongside these young people and the young people all around us, to help them see who they are meant to be, not who the pancake batter has covered them from seeing. There are a lot of things that distort our world. The physical violence and the systemic abandonment, but perhaps we could all be those spray bottles that offer the possibility. So it's like a cat video. One more, easy. So that we can truly see. Give her a huge hand. Give her a huge hand. Now here's the thing. I think there are times when we do this to young people and we cover their vision, we distort it. We muffle their voices so we don't even hear the cry. What does it look like for us as individuals and a community to create spaces where young people can see who they are? That means we first need to see them for who they are, which means if we're honest, there's probably some pancake batter on your eyes that needs to be washed off as well. Friends, from a world that continues tragically to echo with the shots of gunfire, to the hallways of schools that echo with young people and adolescents filled with all stages of development and emotional turmoil, may we be people who hear the cry, who write the vision. We write it so clear that we are all able to step inside of it, to create a world for not just those of us who can vote, but for all of us, no matter how young we might be. Amen.